I'm not who you think, she moaned, the rancher off her glove and saw branding mark. Wild West. The sun had barely begun its slow climb over the jagged red cliffs of Red Mesa, painting the horizon in shades of orange and gold. Dust swirled lazily across the plains, catching in the wind like tiny sparks of light. Rancher Jed McCall tightened his grip on the reins of his hover horse, feeling the familiar hum of its energy core beneath him. The desert was quiet this morning, almost too quiet, and Jed had learned long ago that quiet on Red Mesa was often a sign that something unusual was about to happen. He guided his horse along the worn path to the northern boundary of his ranch, checking on the solar water pumps. That was when he saw her. She was lying face down in the sand, one arm stretched awkwardly toward the sky. At first, Jed thought she might be another traveler lost to the shifting dunes, but something about the way she moved, or rather didn't move, made him pause. He nudged his horse forward. "Hey there." "You okay?" he called, his voice rough from years of shouting across canyon walls. The figure stirred, coughing weakly as sand blew into her face. Slowly, she lifted her head, revealing a face pale from exposure, with dark hair matted across her forehead. Her eyes, wide and alert, scanned the horizon before settling on him. I'm not who you think I am," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the whistling wind. Jed dismounted quickly, letting the reins of his hover horse slack. There were two things about her that made him stop in his tracks. One was the glove she wore on her right hand, a metallic, slightly glowing glove that looked more like a gadget than clothing. The other was the way she seemed completely out of place in the barren desert, like a bird dropped into a sandstorm. "Slow down there," Jed said gently, crouching beside her. "You're safe." "I'm Jed McCall. This is my ranch. Can you stand?" She tried to sit up, but her strength betrayed her. Jed offered his arm, and with a shaky nod she accepted. She moved slowly, almost cautiously, as if afraid that any sudden motion might trigger some hidden danger. As she struggled to pull off the glove, Jed noticed a faint glow emanating from beneath it. Hesitantly, she removed it. Jed's eyes widened. A small, intricate mark gleamed on her skin, pulsing faintly with a soft blue light. It looked almost like a tattoo, but it was more than that. A series of tiny lines and symbols arranged in a strange pattern stretched across the back of her hand and up her wrist. What is this?" Jed asked, leaning closer. She glanced at her own hand, fingers trembling. "I don't know," she admitted. I don't remember how it got there, but I think it's important." It seemed almost alive, glowing faintly with a rhythm that matched the quickening beat of his own heart. He had seen strange things before, hover wagons, automated water harvesters, even the occasional rogue robot scavenger, but nothing like this. It wasn't just technology, it was personal. "Can you stand on your own?" he asked again. She nodded, though her legs shook. Jed offered his shoulder as support. Together, they moved toward his ranch, a modest cluster of solar-paneled buildings and fenced pens where robotic sheep grazed. The woman stumbled at first, then gradually found her balance, the glow of the mark still pulsing gently. "Name's Lyra," she said quietly, introducing herself as they walked. I think I was traveling? Or maybe running. I don't remember." Jed kept his eyes on her, noticing how carefully she moved. She wasn't injured. Not really. But she carried herself like someone who had been hiding for a long time. Something about her felt urgent. Back at the ranch, Jed led her to the main house, a simple structure with walls that could withstand the fiercest dust storms. He offered her water and a place to sit. Lyra accepted both gratefully, her hands wrapped around the cup as if it were an anchor to the world. "You said you're not who I think you are," Jed said, breaking the silence. "What do you mean?" Lyra looked away, her eyes tracing the lines of the desert horizon beyond the window. "I don't know. Everything feels wrong. I wake up in places I've never been, wearing things I don't remember choosing, and this mark," she flexed her hand, watching the glow fade and return. "It shouldn't be on me." I don't even know what it does." Jed nodded slowly, carefully choosing his words. "Well, whoever put it there, it brought you here. And right now, that's all that matters. You're safe." Lyra smiled faintly, a mixture of relief and uncertainty. "Safe, I hope so." The ranch was quiet, save for the soft hum of hover horses in their pens and the faint buzz of automated machinery. Jed poured himself a cup of coffee and offered one to her. She accepted, still cautious, still tense. "You'll need food," he said, "and a place to rest. If you want, you can stay here until you figure out what's going on. Nobody bothers anyone on Red Mesa without good reason.
Lyra nodded. Thank you.
I don't know how to repay you. Jed shrugged. You don't need to repay me. Just don't disappear again, all right? They sat in silence for a few moments, drinking their coffee, watching the sun climb higher. The desert seemed endless, yet something about the way Lyra moved, and a strange glow on her hand, made Jed feel that this was the beginning of something larger than either of them could imagine. Later, when Jed was showing Lyra around the ranch, he noticed her eyes lingering on the machinery, on the hover horses, on the shimmering panels that powered the water pumps. She seemed fascinated and cautious at the same time, as if she were trying to remember something buried deep in her mind. What do you remember? Jed asked gently, watching her examine a solar panel. Lyra hesitated. Ships, stars, voices. A lot of them. I can't tell if they're memories or dreams. Jed frowned. You said you were traveling? Lyra nodded. Or maybe running. I can't be sure, but I woke up in the sand and I was alone. That's when I saw your ranch. Jed studied her face. There was honesty there, but also fear. She wasn't lying. She just didn't have all the pieces of the puzzle. All right, he said finally. For now, you're with me. We'll figure out the rest later. That night, the desert stretched like a sea of red beneath a sky littered with stars. Lyra sat on the porch of Jed's house, the glow from her hand now dim but still faintly pulsing. She traced the lines of the mark, wondering who had left it there and why. Jed joined her, sipping his coffee quietly. You know, he said, Red Mesa has a way of showing people who they really are. Sometimes it takes a while, but it does. Maybe it'll help you too. Lyra looked at him, her eyes reflecting the starlight. Maybe, she whispered, I don't want to forget who I am, or who I was. Jed nodded, unsure if she even remembered that herself. A sudden gust of wind swept across the mesa, kicking up clouds of red dust. The glow from Lyra's hand flickered for a moment, brighter than before, almost as if it were responding to something unseen. She gasped softly, startled, and Jed reached out instinctively, but she shook her head. It's nothing, she said quickly, hiding her hand, but Jed noticed the change, the way her fingers twitched, and the small frown on her face. Something was coming, he realized. Something that had brought her here, to his ranch, to this quiet spot in the middle of nowhere. And whatever it wasn't finished with her yet. The night grew darker, the stars above Red Mesa twinkling like distant fires. Somewhere in the vast desert, a secret waited, pulsing faintly, tied to the mysterious brand on Lyra's hand. Jed didn't know it yet, but this chance encounter was only the beginning. The stranger in the dust had arrived, and her story was just beginning. The next morning, Red Mesa woke in the same golden light as the day before, but the desert felt different. The wind carried a strange stillness, as if the land itself was holding its breath. Jed McCall was already outside, checking the solar pumps and the hover horses, when he noticed Lyra standing near the fence, staring at the distant cliffs. Her hand was tucked carefully under the sleeve of her shirt, hiding the faintly glowing mark. You're quiet this morning, Jed said, breaking the silence. Something on your mind? Lyra turned, blinking against the rising sun. I keep thinking about the mark, she admitted. It's not just a tattoo or a symbol. It feels like it's alive, like it wants me to do something. He had seen a lot in his years on Red Mesa. Hover wagons that ran themselves, robotic sheep that grazed on energy-rich plants, even old automated communication towers that hummed messages to far-off planets. But he had never seen anything like this. Do you think it's dangerous? He asked cautiously. I don't know, Lyra said. I just know I need to understand it. I need to know where it came from. Then we figure it out together. For now, let's get some breakfast in you. You can't think on an empty stomach. The two of them moved inside the small ranch house where the aroma of toasted synth grain bread and fresh coffee filled the air. Lyra took her seat by the window, gazing out at the endless desert as she nibbled on her food. Jed watched her carefully. She was clearly frightened, but there was a quiet determination in her eyes. Something about her seemed connected to the land, to the stars above, in a way he couldn't explain. Jed, she said after a while, her voice soft, do you know anything about the settlers on Red Mesa? People who aren't exactly from here? Jed raised an eyebrow. You mean the ones who came from the outer planets? Some of them, yeah. But you're not one of those types, are you? I don't think so. Or maybe I don't remember. But I feel like I belong somewhere else. Somewhere I've never been, but still familiar. Jed sighed. Red Mesa can do that to people. Makes them feel like they're part of it even if they're not. He took a deep breath. But right now you're here, and we're going to figure out that mark on your hand. After breakfast, they stepped outside. The desert stretched endlessly in every direction, glowing softly under the morning sun. Jed led Lyra to a small workbench beside the house, cluttered with tools, wires, and small mechanical devices. Maybe we can get a clue from this, he said, pointing to a scanner he had rigged up for the hover horses. It wasn't designed for a glowing brand on skin, but it might detect energy patterns. Lyra hesitated before placing her hand on the scanner. The glow from the mark flickered, brighter than before. Jed's eyes widened. "See?" she whispered. "It's like it's reacting to the machine." The scanner beeped softly. On its small screen, a map appeared, faint lines forming a pattern over the desert. Jed squinted at it. That looks like coordinates. But why here? Lyra's eyes widened. "Coordinates, you mean?" "It wants to take me somewhere." Jed nodded slowly. "Seems that way, and I think we should go see where it leads." The thought of traveling across the desert was both thrilling and terrifying. Red Mesa was beautiful, but it was also dangerous. Sandstorms could appear without warning, and the shifting dunes could swallow a person whole. But Lyra didn't hesitate. She wanted answers, and Jed could see it in her determined gaze. They mounted their hover horses, machines sleek and low to the ground, their energy cores humming like quiet engines of promise. The sun climbed higher, casting long shadows behind them as they followed the faint map projected by the scanner. The desert changed as they rode, from flat red plains to jagged rocks and narrow canyons. The wind carried the scent of metal and earth, and small mechanical birds flitted above, scanning the land with glowing eyes. Jed kept a hand on the reins, but he also kept a careful watch on Lyra. She moved with surprising skill for someone who had just appeared in the desert the day before, as if instinct guided her. As they rode, Lyra spoke softly, almost to herself. "I remember stars, ships. A place that wasn't like this, but it feels real, like it's a memory trying to reach me." Jed nodded without replying. He understood that feeling. The desert had a way of drawing memories out of people, of making them face themselves. He had seen it many times before, in settlers who had lost their way or wandered too far from home. By late afternoon, they reached a small ridge overlooking a wide canyon. The scanner's glow pulsed brighter. Lyra dismounted carefully, her eyes fixed on the coordinates. "There," she said. "It's down there. That's where the mark wants me to go." Jed followed, helping her navigate the steep rocks. At the bottom, the canyon opened into a wide clearing. At first it seemed empty, just sand and stone. But as Lyra stepped forward, the ground shimmered faintly, and a hidden panel slid open in the rock, revealing a small device embedded in the stone. Lyra gasped softly. "It's waiting for me." Jed approached cautiously. "Be careful," he warned. "We don't know what it does." But Lyra reached out and touched the device. The mark on her hand glowed brightly, and the device responded, projecting a holographic map into the air. Lines of energy traced out a path leading across the desert to a place far beyond anything they had seen before. Jed stared at the glowing map. "Looks like it wants to take you to another outpost. But why? And who set this up?" Lyra shook her head. "I don't know. But I feel like I'm meant to follow it. Like it's part of me." They studied the map together, realizing that the outpost was far beyond Red Mesa, a journey that would take days through desert and canyon. But it was the first clue to Lyra's past, and Jed could see that she couldn't turn back. "All right," Jed said finally. "We follow it. I'll help you. But we do it together." "Agreed." Re nodded, relief and gratitude in her eyes. "Agreed." As they prepared to leave, Jed noticed something unusual in the distance. Small figures moved among the rocks, too far to see clearly, but they seemed to be scanning the land, almost like drones. He frowned. "We're not alone," he warned. Lyra's hand twitched. The bark glowed in response, pulsing in a steady rhythm. "I think it's sensing them," she said. "Maybe warning me?" Jed studied the horizon. The desert was vast, but the figures moved with purpose. He realized that whoever, or whatever, had left the mark on Lyra's hand had planned for others to be watching. "Looks like your past is catching up with you," he said quietly. Lyra swallowed hard. I don't even know my past," she admitted. "But I have to find out." They mounted their hover horses again, following the path indicated by the holographic map. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows over the rocks. The desert grew colder, the wind sharper, but the glow of Lyra's hand illuminated the path ahead. As night fell, they made camp on a rocky plateau. The stars above Red Mesa were brighter than ever, scattered across the sky like diamonds. Lyra traced the lines of her mark with her finger, watching the glow fade and return. "I feel like it's trying to tell me something," she whispered. "Something important." "Whatever it is, we'll figure it out, step by step. No rush." Lyra smiled faintly, comforted by his calm presence. "Thank you, Jed. I don't know what I'd do without you." Jed shrugged, looking out over the desert. "You do fine on your own, but sometimes having someone along makes the journey easier." The wind whispered through the rocks, carrying secrets of the desert and hints of the adventure yet to come. Lyra felt a strange connection to the land, the stars, and the glow of her mark. She didn't know what awaited her at the outpost, but for the first time since she awoke in the sand, she felt a sense of purpose, and Jed, watching the flickering glow, knew that whatever lay ahead, this journey would change both of their lives forever. Somewhere far across Red Mesa, hidden from sight, a soft signal pulsed through the desert. The glow on Lyra's hand responded, brightening as if acknowledging a presence. The secret outpost was waiting, and with it, answers that could explain everything: her origins, her mark, and the strange pull that had brought her to Jed's ranch. The night grew deeper, but Lyra felt ready. Tomorrow, they would continue their journey, and whatever secrets the desert held, she would face them, with Jed at her side and the mysterious mark guiding the way. The desert of Red Mesa stretched endlessly beneath the rising sun, a vast sea of red sand and jagged rocks. Jed McCall adjusted the reins of his hover horse as it hovered steadily over the uneven ground. Beside him, Lyra rode cautiously, her hand tucked beneath the sleeve of her shirt, the glow of her mark now faint but persistent. The map projected from the device in the canyon glimmered in her mind's eye, a path that led them deeper into unknown lands. The morning was quiet, too quiet. The only sound was the soft hum of the hover horse's engines and the occasional whisper of wind over the dunes. Jed's sharp eyes scanned the horizon. He had learned on Red Mesa that silence could hide anything, from sudden dust storms to wandering mechanical wildlife. "You've been quiet since dawn," Jed said, glancing at Lyra. "Thinking about the mark again?" Lyra nodded. "Yes, but also the outpost. I feel like I've been there before, in a memory or a dream. I can't tell which." Jed kept his eyes forward. "Well, either way, it's calling us there for a reason. Let's trust it, at least until we know better." They rode in silence, following the faint trail that shimmered in the heat haze of the desert. Small details began to appear: glimmering rocks that reflected the sunlight in unnatural patterns, dust formations that shifted like waves in the sand, and mechanical birds hovering far above, their glowing eyes scanning the land. "Look," Lyra said suddenly, pointing. A small creature, part machine, part animal, moved among the rocks ahead. Its body was sleek, metallic, with delicate legs that clicked softly as it advanced. The creature paused, its sensors blinking, as if studying them. Jed narrowed his eyes. "Mechanical wildlife. Some settlers keep them for work or protection. But these ones, they move on their own." Lyra's hand twitched. The mark pulsed softly in response. "They're sensing me," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Maybe they know I'm coming." Jed nodded. "We'll keep our distance." No sudden moves. The small creatures watched them for a few moments before moving on, disappearing into the dunes. Jed exhaled slowly. "Red Mesa has a lot of surprises," he said, "and it looks like we just found one." The day wore on, the sun climbing higher and casting sharp shadows across the desert. Lyra's memories returned in flashes, brief glimpses of stars, strange machinery, voices calling her name. They were fragments, fleeting and confusing, but each one made her feel closer to understanding who she really was. "Jed," she said suddenly, slowing her horse. "I remember something, a place with many lights, almost like a city in space. I don't know why, but it feels real. I think it's connected to the mark. Then, it's a clue. We follow it carefully." As they approached a narrow canyon, the wind picked up, carrying fine red dust that stung their eyes. Jed led the way, carefully navigating the hover horses over the uneven rocks. The canyon walls rose high, creating a tunnel of stone that shimmered in the sunlight. "It's beautiful," Lyra whispered, almost in awe, "but it feels like it's hiding something." Jed nodded. "That's Red Mesa for you, always hiding more than it shows." At the canyon's end, the path opened into a wide plateau. The map indicated that the outpost was nearby, but nothing visible appeared. Jed dismounted, scanning the area carefully. "Nothing here," he said, frowning. "Maybe it's hidden." Lyra stepped forward, the mark on her hand pulsing more strongly now. She raised her arm, letting the glow spread outward. The plateau responded. A faint shimmer appeared along the rocks, a hidden doorway becoming visible. The air felt warmer, almost electric, as if the land itself recognized her presence. Jed's eyes widened. "You just lit up a hidden trail," he said. "I've never seen anything like that." Lyra approached the door, her hand brushing over the surface. A soft click echoed and the door slid open to reveal a small chamber. Inside, holographic panels floated in midair, displaying maps, symbols, and images of planets and stars. Lyra gasped. This is part of my past," she whispered. "I don't remember being here, but it feels familiar." "Looks like a scout outpost," he said. "Someone was tracking planets, maybe settlers, maybe resources. But why would you be connected to it?" Lyra touched one of the holographic panels, and the images shifted, showing flashes of ships, laboratories, and people who looked like they were working on advanced technology. A faint voice echoed in her mind, calling a name she almost remembered. Hers. "I think I was part of this," she said slowly. "I was here before, but I erased my memories. Or maybe someone did it for me, I don't know." Jed placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Then we find out together, step by step, no rush." The chamber contained more than just memories. There were devices, small tools, and data logs floating in holographic form. Lyra approached one of the logs and touched it, and the room filled with images of herself, younger, studying maps of distant worlds, learning about technology, and interacting with people who seemed important to her. I don't remember any of this," she admitted, tears in her eyes. "But I feel like I should." Jed nodded. "Sometimes memory takes time to return. But at least now we have clues." They spent hours in the outpost, piecing together the fragments of Lyra's past. She learned that the mark on her hand was a key, a signal, a guide, and a reminder of who she was. It could help her access hidden places, communicate with old allies, and even unlock skills she didn't know she had. As night fell, Lyra and Jed prepared to leave the outpost. The desert had grown quiet, the stars above Red Mesa shining brighter than ever. Lyra touched her mark, and it pulsed softly, as if acknowledging the new knowledge she had gained. Jed looked at her. "Tomorrow we continue the journey. There's more out there, waiting for you, and I'll be here." "Thank you, Jed. I feel like I'm finally starting to understand." Jed shrugged. "Understanding is good. But remember, the desert has more surprises. Be ready for anything." As they left the outpost, mechanical creatures emerged from the shadows, observing silently. The glow on Lyra's hand responded brighter than ever. She realized that whatever her past held, it was still watching, still waiting, still guiding her. And Jed knew that their journey was far from over. The desert, the stars, and the mysterious mark all pointed to something greater, a destiny that neither of them could yet fully see. Red Mesa stretched before them, vast, wild, and full of secrets. Lyra's memories were returning, one piece at a time, and with each pulse of her mark, the path ahead became clearer. The outpost was only the beginning. They rode on through the desert night, the glow of Lyra's mark illuminating the way. The stars above seemed to shine in approval, as if the universe itself recognized the importance of this journey. Lyra felt a sense of purpose, a feeling she had not experienced since waking in the sand. And Jed, watching her with a mixture of awe and protectiveness, knew that the adventures to come would test them both, but also reveal the true meaning of identity, trust, and courage. Somewhere in the distance, another signal pulsed faintly, hidden from sight, responding to the glow of Lyra's hand. The secret outpost had shared its knowledge, but the next step awaited them beyond the horizon. Together, they would follow the path of the mark, uncover the mysteries of Lyra's past, and face whatever challenges the desert and the stars had in store. The night was quiet, but the adventure was only beginning. The first light of dawn crept over Red Mesa, painting the desert in soft orange and pink. Jed McCall adjusted the reins of his hover horse, feeling the steady hum beneath him. Beside him, Lyra sat quietly, her hand resting on her lap, the faint glow of the mark still pulsing softly. After discovering the hidden outpost and glimpsing fragments of her past, she felt a mixture of wonder and apprehension. Today they would finally follow the mark to its next destination and perhaps uncover the full truth about who she was. Jed glanced at her. Ready? Lyra nodded, swallowing her nervousness. I think I am. More than I've ever been. Together they rode across the desert, following the faint energy lines projected from the mark on Lyra's hand. The path took them through rugged canyons, past jagged cliffs, and over red dunes that seemed to stretch endlessly. The desert seemed alive, as if it recognized their purpose and guided them forward. The outpost helped, Lyra said softly, her eyes tracing the distant horizon. But it only answered part of the puzzle. There's still so much I don't remember. Jed kept a steady pace. Sometimes the answers come in steps, one at a time. You've already made more progress than most would in a lifetime. As midday approached, they reached a valley unlike any they had seen before. Crystalline formations jutted from the ground, shimmering in the sunlight like glass towers. Pools of reflective water dotted the valley, and soft hums of energy pulsed through the air. It was a place that seemed to exist between reality and dream. This feels right, she whispered. The mark is guiding me here. I've never seen anything like this, he said. It's beautiful and strange. Together they approached the largest crystal structure. As they drew near, a small panel opened at its base, revealing a holographic projection. The light formed a figure, tall, calm, and composed. It spoke in a soft, melodic tone. Lyra, the voice said, you have returned. Your memories are ready to be restored. Lyra's breath caught. The figure's image flickered, and fragments of her past flooded her mind. Images of starships, laboratories, distant planets, and people who had guided her. She saw herself as a scout, traveling between worlds to map uncharted territories, learning skills she had forgotten, and helping communities she had long since left behind. I remember it all, Lyra whispered. I was sent here to explore, Jed watched her closely, sensing both awe and relief in her expression. Why forget? He asked gently. Lyra shook her head, trying to focus. It was complicated. I needed to hide from people who wanted to control me, to use the mark for their own purposes. I erased my memories so I could have freedom. But now, I'm ready to face it. The holographic figure nodded. The mark is not only a guide, it is also a key to knowledge, abilities, and choices. You may unlock your full potential without fear, but you must decide how to use it. Lyra looked down at her glowing hand, tracing the lines of the brand. It pulsed with soft blue light, almost like a heartbeat. For the first time, she felt a sense of ownership, not fear, over it. Jed placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Whatever you decide, I'll be here. You're not alone. Lyra smiled, a calm determination in her eyes. I want to help people, not fight them, not hide. Just explore, guide, and protect. The mark can help me do that. The holographic figure shimmered and spoke again. Then your path is clear. The knowledge you unlock will guide you. But the journey never ends, and the horizon always awaits. Lyra extended her hand, letting the mark's glow spread outward. The crystals of the valley responded, lighting up in a cascade of colors. Information flowed into her mind. Star maps, histories of distant worlds, navigation paths, and even insights into how to help other branded individuals regain their freedom. She felt stronger, wiser, and more connected than ever. Jed watched in awe. Looks like you've really unlocked it, he said. Lyra nodded. Yes, and it feels right. Like this is where I was meant to be. But also, like this is only the beginning. The valley around them seemed to hum in agreement, and for a moment the desert was alive with light and energy. The mark on Lyra's hand pulsed one last time in the daylight, then settled into a soft, steady glow. Jed took a deep breath. So, what now? Lyra looked at him, eyes shining. We explore the horizon, help those who need it, and uncover what else is out there. Red Mesa, the outposts, the stars beyond, it's all connected. And I want to see it all, with you by my side. Jed smiled, feeling a mix of pride and relief. Then we ride. There's a lot to see, and I'm not planning to miss it. They spent the rest of the day preparing for the journey ahead, gathering supplies from the outpost and mapping their route. Lyra's knowledge, unlocked by the mark, allowed them to repair and improve their hover horses and equipment, making the trek safer and faster. As night fell, they camped on a high ridge overlooking the valley. The stars above Red Mesa shone brighter than ever, scattered across the sky like diamonds. Lyra sat quietly, tracing the glowing lines of the brand on her hand, reflecting on all she had learned. Jed joined her, handing her a cup of warm tea. you've come a long way, he said softly, from waking in the sand to unlocking all of this.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you, Jed. I couldn't have done it without you. But now, I feel like I finally have control. My past, my present, and my future. It's all mine. Jed nodded. And I'll be here for all of it, no matter what the horizon brings. The night grew deeper, the desert quiet and peaceful. The glow of Lyra's mark pulsed softly, a gentle reminder of her journey, her abilities, and the adventure that lay ahead. Somewhere far across Red Mesa, hidden signals responded to the mark, hinting at new worlds, new knowledge, and new opportunities waiting to be discovered. Lyra felt a deep sense of purpose and calm. She was no longer just a stranger in the desert. She was a traveler, a guide, a protector, and someone who had reclaimed her identity. The mark was no longer a mystery or a burden. It was a key to her destiny. Jed looked out over the horizon, feeling the vastness of Red Mesa and the stars beyond. Ready for the next adventure? He asked with a grin. Lyra nodded, her hand glowing softly. Always. Let's see where the horizon takes us. And together they rode into the starlit desert, the glow of the mark lighting the way, ready to explore new worlds, uncover hidden secrets, and face whatever the future held. Red Mesa stretched endlessly before them, a land of mystery, beauty, and possibility, and Lyra, once a stranger in the sand, was finally whole, her past, her present, and her future shining as brightly as the stars above. The journey was far from over. The horizon waited, full of wonder, adventure, and discovery. And with the brand guiding her and Jed at her side, Lyra knew she could face it all. The desert whispered around them, carrying promises of more mysteries, more discoveries, and a life full of purpose. The stars twinkled above, as if celebrating the beginning of a new chapter. And the brand on Lyra's hand pulsed gently, a constant reminder that the future was hers to shape.